Welcome to the Greenway Outdoors podcast. The Greenway Outdoors is also an internationally syndicated TV show on Pursuit Channel and Wild TV. You are now tuned into our weekly podcast hosted by executive producer Kyle Green, production coordinator Jeff Hutchinson, director AJ Beadle, and creative producer Ryan Parks. We live in a world where our natural resources are almost solely protected by funds raised by hunters and fishermen, with over 60% of those funds coming from white males over the age of 55. The Greenway Outdoors team has set out on a mission to create content that would inspire millennials, Generation Z, and new sportsmen and women to get out, hunt, fish, and contribute towards conservation and the betterment of our planet. Welcome to the Greenway Outdoors. Hello and welcome to episode 36 of the Greenway Outdoors podcast. I'm Kyle.
I'm Jeff.
I'm AJ.
I'm Ryan.
I was thinking about this. This is like a total podcasty idea question thing that I had rolling in my head. And it's, so all the games we play, I thought of this a couple weekends ago when we were up north, and everyone's playing like bag toss, you know, where the cornhole, whatever it is.
Yep.
We went axe throwing. We went foaling. And foaling is where you're like throwing a football. And there's bowling pins. Yep. It's like some drunk dude somewhere was like, all right, we don't got enough money for a bowling alley.
I really like is football and bowling. How do we do both?
I don't know. Let's add a sense of danger into that game, and we're good to go.
It's like that movie Basketball.
Oh, dude, brilliant movie.
There's a strange sense of defense in that game because you got, not only are you watching when they throw at you and you got to protect your pins, but if you play with other people, there's multiple games going on. You got to watch for those other balls, errant balls going and hitting your stuff too, because that counts.
I hit Elisa's sister Ashton in the head so hard it knocked the earring off her head.
You hit her in the head?
Right in the head.
Wow.
How? Did it bounce, or did you actually just straight on?
Well, I kind of took to, you're a happening dude today. I like your outfit. I like the new hat, the new
like
shirt.
These too? I got slides on.
Nice.
Yeah, you look like a dude that just got off deep sea fishing and like came in. You should have one of the bandana things on that looks like you got a skeleton face. And you'd be all good to go.
I thought about just not wearing pants because it's a podcast and we at least it's from the waist up.
Yeah.
So
No, I like the outfit.
Some people.
Anyhow, so the idea is though, I threw the football and it hit the pins, but then bounced up, and then there was like a backdrop real close, like the back wall, and then it kicked up and got right in the temple.
Nice.
The rest of us don't condone violence.
No, I actually took to, because it's kind of messed up, but I'm like, I don't know if you know this, but I like to win. So I'm playing the two girls.
You?
So what I do is I throw the first one, because I was playing by myself, and then those two were on Elisa and Ashton were on a team. So I would chuck the football as hard as I could for the first one, and that would get them to scatter. Then I had a free open backdrop to help me on the second throw. So I'd throw the first one to scare them, and the second one I'd work on being accurate, and if it went over, then it would bounce off the wall.
You have to block it?
Once it bounces, or it goes off the back wall. See the whole thing?
I never played that one.
See, like, if they're not scared, they'll just catch it. Because if it bounces off the back wall was literally only 5 feet from the pins.
So you threw it as hard as you could and just nailed her?
And it's not
I didn't mean to nail her, but it took a hot. It did, though.
It's not
Gravity.
like you're aiming at her, though. So if they're not able to anticipate the bounce, that's not your fault.
No. And then like
gym class.
And then we were just
one-on-one.
just throwing it in like and then there was like a bunch of people that were like just on the court and kind of half blocking our lane for no reason. So I just kind of shot one right into that group.
Nice.
They're like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, sorry, we're in the middle of a game."
Yeah.
It was a bunch of
It's
girls.
weird that we're here.
It's really funny. Anyhow, so we're way off topic now, but the idea of this was all these games have to do bowling, darts, axe throwing, foaling, cornhole, anything you can think of. It seems to me like a lot of these games were invented a really long time ago, or they're reenactments of an old game.
It's gotta be.
And I got to wondering, a lot of it is throwing something to hit something real specific. And are all these games actually dated back to practice for hunting? Like, they used to hunt with adeladdles or whatever. Adeladdles? Yeah. Ryan, I really thought you were going to help me.
No.
You talking about those
I
things
kind of know
where
what
it's
you're
two
talking
balls on a
about.
string and you throw it?
No. So they'd hunt with all these different things. I mean, back in the the yo-yo was invented as a way.
I am so glad you brought that up because I have facts written down about it right here.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I know the facts, but now I feel like I don't want to take it from the guy that took the dinosaur.
What do you think? I want to know what you think it is.
I've never seen him so excited about you saying something on a pod. Yo-yos!
In the Revolutionary War, too, like, we'd hide up in the trees, and then, like, when people would walk down, they'd have, like, some sort of sharp something going on the yo-yo, and they'd slap it down and it'd go through the guy's head and kill him.
No
they would
way.
kill people with it.
Like a stealth kill.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And then it'd come back up and be like, what guy? What monkey in the tree that's killing everybody?
I'm just wagging the dog, man.
So
Walk the dog was actually a disgusting thing. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Go ahead, Ryan.
So I originally thought that too.
Oh, God, I was wrong?
Yep.
No kidding.
I looked it up because I wanted to just to.
Glad you let me go first. If you knew I didn't know. Say it wrong so I can
I thought
you.
maybe you were going to say the same thing because I looked it up and you're wrong.
Oh. So,
Snopes.
So that myth that they originally used for weapons.
he wanted me to be wrong. That's
No,
why
I thought you were going to say the same thing. I really did.
Drop it down from trees with a blade. What an idiot.
That's what I
cut
thought.
your hands, stupid. How he would hit the string, for sure.
It's coming back up at you.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Okay. So I originally thought the same thing, that they were originally used for weapons.
Okay.
But they weren't. So the people who started mass producing them as toys,
Duncan. Really?
I
got something right. Okay.
Nice.
Yes.
It wasn't Yomega. Japanese stuff.
In the 30s, when they started doing this, they used that as a marketing strategy. They made that up and were selling that idea to people that they used to be used as weapons way back in the day.
No kidding.
And since then, it's always been, but it's never been true.
So it's just a sham?
Yeah, it was just a marketing strategy to make it sound cooler.
I love it.
Look at that.
That's cool.
It's
Next thing you're going to tell me they didn't put cocaine in Coke. No, just
Don't tell me.
It makes sense now that he found all his facts on Duncan.com.
So it was just a marketing plan
In the
to make
30s.
people think it was a weapon, and it
Yep.
wasn't. Okay.
And then here we are, however many years later, and the myth is still flowing.
Yeah.
It worked.
That's crazy.
Got me.
Yo-yos are a
That's
standard.
more.
Okay.
90 years later?
Yeah.
So back to my actual original thought, though,
Yeah.
were these games all, like, Axelrod, I'd have to think for show, but were these actual reenactments or practice to hone your skills to throw something or get rid of an object in a way, projectile, that would hit a target? Was that like, were these practice? You know what I mean? And now we've gotten so soft that it's like, well, I'm going to go to archery practice. When it used to be like, it was archery practice to kill something, and now it's like, I got a bullseye, so I win a trophy or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So is it like,
Okay.
is it like all these games that we do, are they all really just about practicing for hunting? And
Well,
the
like
reason
they
why
originally
I
came from that.
smoked everyone at the games would lead me to believe,
Your ancestors would be proud.
yes.
I would say yes, because 3,000 years ago, they weren't playing games. They were hunting to survive. Everything was about survival, and so it slowly down the line as things change, and now we have farms and all that. But that was still around. It slowly gets manipulated into a game of some sort.
When do you think fun was invented?
I think that was 500 BC.
I'm being serious though. Like when is it? Like
I think that's always. I'm sure that was
cave
always.
painting.
okay, so fun
joy
was always a
is-
thing. So you said though it was like there were no games.
Well, I'm sure there were games, but I think.
You said there wasn't.
Yeah, you thought yo-yos were weapons. I think everything originally started from hunting and gathering, and then slowly over time it
It's like-
morphed into what it is today.
Right, it's like a way to compete. I always say too, like when it comes to hunting, the problem with like the arrogance level inside the industry a lot of times is because there's no grading scale. It's like because no one person will ever be in the exact same circumstance as the other person with the same animal, with the same wits, with the same experience, with the same situation. I don't know whether I would have shot that duck that guy shot because there's no way for me to go into that position. I don't know if I would have pissed myself when that elk came in with a huge rager, peeing all down himself, bellowing his throat out as loud as he possibly can. I don't know if I would have missed the archery shot because I would have been nervous. I don't know what I don't know, because and neither does anybody else. They can say, oh, of course I would, or this or that. The problem is there's no grading scale. Now you can say it's like I shot a trophy buck, and I used to it's like, well, especially in the Midwest, it's like basically deer hunting is blocked off based on property and competition. So, like, if I shot a big deer up at Pete's, it's because a big deer happened to come by.
Yep.
Jeff has a bigger buck than I've ever had, barely, because he was there when it came, and that was the property.
It's because I developed the land.
yeah, exactly. So it's like, that's the truth, though. So it's like, because of that, though, like, who's, like, you got a 9-year-old kid shooting a 12-point because his dad set him up to do this, and all he had to do was pull the trigger, and he's sitting in the blind. Does that mean that 9-year-old's a more experienced and better hunter than me?
Maybe.
Great
Because
question.
I've never shot that 12-point. Of course not. There's no grading scale in hunting. There's no like.
There's too many variables.
There's no set template.
Right, because you can say it's all about the trophy animal, but there are 6 points that took more experience, more tracking, more difficulty, more everything to harvest than a 12-point by the 9-year-old that was on a deer farm. So they're like,
Deer farm.
so there's no like grading scale. So it breeds this arrogance because no one's checking you. You know what I mean? When you're in high school,
everyone's an expert.
If they got an A and you got a C, they did better than you. There's no way around it. But there's nothing like that in hunting or fishing.
Yeah.
Only bass tournaments would be the closest thing to it, where it's like get out and go and this and that. But even so, there's still more variables because the bass pro that's better than me but has never fished the lake that I'm on, and I've been fishing that one 30 times, I'm probably going to still beat him. You know what I mean? And that's with I would rate myself a 6 or a 7 out of 10 in a fishing level of skill, and he'll be a 10 out of 10. But I know the lake inside and out. I know where the fish are. I know so I'm going to. There's too many variables always in hunting and fishing, which kind of makes it cool. But like, man, I remember when Scott's dad shot a 3-point a couple years ago, and he was so excited. It was with his bow. I think he uses a long bow. Which is AJ. So you've seen my bow contraption. So he's just using a long bow where you pull it back and you got the full weight on you and you're holding with fingers and letting it go. Yeah, it's very difficult. And he shot a 3-point because it has to get within like 15, 20 yards of him to be comfortable with the shot. He was all excited, and then he got bashed online. But like, he's hunted for like 9 years on that property and hadn't gotten a deer in a long time because of the type of hunting he does.
And there's no good genes out there, so a 3-point might be the best that you'll see.
Yeah, don't get me started on APRs. We already got enough hate mail on that one. But yeah, to end that conversation, essentially, I think that a lot of the games that we play, and sometimes you just look around and stuff that you do or activities, you're like, how is this connected probably to hunting and fishing? And you'll see remnants of it in a lot of stuff.
I tried to think of games that didn't match this, and most of the ones I thought of ended up they did anyways, like tag, hide and seek. You gotta, stalk or chase down something that you shot.
Was it harder to play those games when you had no friends as a kid?
Just hide.
There's no seek. There's no seek until his dad get home and Pity plays with him.
I had one friend, but he wasn't allowed outside most times.
That was me. My mom was so freaking protective.
Oh,
yeah,
man. Careful that air
I
out
was
there.
coddled a lot.
What do you mean?
Like,
he wasn't allowed outside.
She didn't like me in the front yard by myself a lot.
Yeah.
And like,
laser pointers out there.
I wasn't allowed to spend the night at other kids' houses a lot. My mom was really protective.
I almost got hit by a car one time in our street, and then ever since then, you can't go outside.
Did you really?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
You were with me. I was in the cross street.
You pushed me. You don't remember?
You put your foot out, and then you pushed me.
When did you almost get hit by a car?
I had to have been maybe 6, 7.
Do you remember when
I was crossing the street to come over to your house, and I looked one way, and for some reason that was good enough, and then started going, and then the car came out, and I was like, oh.
Wasn't it a guy and didn't he have to lock up his brakes?
It was a lady, and she did lock up her brakes.
Dang.
Little Jeffrey. That's why his hair looks like that. No, I'm just kidding. But there's no correlation. Remember when we were playing I still remember this. We were playing kickball, and we were. It was like a tie-dye looking ball. It's rubber.
Classic.
And you like pumped it up. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. And it goes right in the street, and this guy in a big truck. It was like a dumpster truck of some sort. I mean, it was just a big truck. The ball just lined up and went right under his tire, and he popped it. And he stopped and gave us $5.
Really?
Yeah.
No, that's kind of cool.
I thought you were going to say get out and be mad.
Same.
No, he felt real bad. It just lined up. I mean, we were playing.
What are the odds?
Yeah. It
Here's $5.
I kicked it, and it bounced off his knee, and then flipped into the road perfectly, and then got ran over.
And it's not like you guys were that far from the road if you were playing in the front yard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's
Yeah.
close.
20 feet tops.
Yeah. That was the yard. So speaking of our houses, at my sister's house, they're going to be doing a lemonade stand on Saturday from 2 to 4 in support of Granger Smith's son. They're doing it. The address, you can find it on Facebook. The event there. It's to raise money for the children's fund at the hospital that took care of River before he passed, which is Granger Smith's son. So it'll be Saturday from 2 to 4. Stop by, get some lemonade, and make a donation. We'd appreciate it. So
Do they have a GoFundMe going?
like 9 things. What?
Do they have a GoFundMe going, like an online thing?
Well, they're 6, so.
No, I think they. Well, they
That
sold.
doesn't mean anything.
They sold the River shirts to
Yeah.
raise money for it. It's the Dell Children's Hospital in Texas, and they raised money for it. I guess the staff there was amazing to them, and they're dealing with a lot of different kids that go through crisis and stuff, and that's definitely the right environment for people to be in those situations. So they wanted to continue to raise money for them, which is why they sold the River shirts. And Lily, it was actually Lily's idea to do a lemonade stand, and then she wanted to donate the money.
Yeah.
Bless her heart.
You can tell she doesn't want for much if her goal is to raise money for a charity.
You should tell your sister
Smart
to
kid.
start a GoFundMe. It's probably not a bad idea.
Is that what you were asking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
people
Laurel,
that
Laurel
can't be
started.
there-
Well, I know that
Here's
they're
$5.
donating it directly to Granger's family, who then donates it in River's name. So I'm sure there's something out there. They had a Facebook thing
sorts
where you
of-
could donate and everything
Okay.
like that
It's
too.
already set up somewhere, yeah.
But
okay.
that's the
No
lemonade
need for the
stand.
middleman.
That's the information. Okay,
Very cool.
So speaking of drinking things,
Your segues are pretty good today.
thank you. So speaking of drinking things,
They're normally terrible.
okay, well, I'm glad my friend's here to support me.
I didn't say it.
This was actually fun, and I want to get everyone's opinion on this one. But we're going to go ahead and put this picture up right now. It's called Deer Potion. So which potion would you drink from in order to up your chances of harvesting more deer? So would you rather drink Deer Can't Hear You, which is the green vial, Deer Can't See You in blue, Deer Can't Smell You in black, Every deer you shoot, you recover in, I don't know, it's like an
Red.
orange.
It says it right above
orangish
it, red.
Yeah, oh, yeah, it does, doesn't it? And Never Miss a Deer in purple. So which one would you think would be the best fit for you?
Do the colors
good
in
question.
any way indicate the taste?
He's worried about the taste of the potion. They all taste like pixie sticks.
Oh.
Sounds right.
Yeah. I mean, you got to drink the whole thing. You're going to have a stomach ache, but you get a big benefit.
Does the never miss a deer mean you kill it every time?
I think every
I mean, you can,
I hit
true.
him real good in the ankle. No, every
You're
time.
always going to hit them.
Now, I would say that for the sake of simplifying it, yes.
okay.
I like how we turn this into a philosophical question
Well,
of
no,
variables.
because that's one of the other potions, so I would think that's not the case.
Every deer you shoot, you recover. You could shoot it well and not recover it.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
You've done that.
It's a good selection of,
You've done
of
that.
potions, I will say.
We don't talk about that.
I don't know. I was looking at this earlier, and I thought maybe deer can't hear you because it'd be kind of fun to be able to stalk them, add a little bit.
And they can still smell you, though.
Yeah, right.
And on a big open field hunt, smell is probably more of a variable than hear. Unless you're me.
I don't want. I don't want to pick one that would make the hunt less fun. So I guess I would choose red.
See, the Never Miss a Deer one for me does, like you're saying, take some pop out of the hunt.
Yeah.
You shoot blindfolded, you're still going to get them.
That's not cool, because then any nervousness that you'd have before the shot or anything is gone, and that's part of the hunt.
Yeah.
Just pick one and take it.
So purple to me was right out of the gate. Like, that one ruins the hunt and the experience. But imagine sitting down with people, explaining to them the difference between trophy hunting and meat hunting, and then you tell them never miss a deer. You don't even want that in the cards. They're like, well, I thought you said
Yep.
you just wanted, it's like, well, so you almost have to admit, like, hunting's fun. Getting nervous and having to conquer situations that are challenging is
challenge,
fun.
yeah.
And I get to eat the meat, and I put the antlers on my wall. It's fun. You have to admit it. In order to cross purple off, you're admitting that hunting is fun.
Yeah.
So that's
I mean, there's no... What's the negative about that?
man, but I could see myself missing one time and being like, I drank the wrong one. I'm
Nice.
stupid. All right, so AJ, which one are you?
I have a 2-part answer.
Okay.
So, filming perspective, I'm gonna go with the red pill, or the red potion.
Okay.
Matrix.
But
Didn't make it about drugs, but okay.
only because if we always recover one, we're golden as far as filming wise.
Okay.
Now, if I'm actually hunting, I like the blue potion.
Deer can't see you.
Mm-hmm. I feel like if you could stand up, get a better posture to aim or go up against something instead of crouching, worrying about.
Here's my dispute on that. I have always.
Not me.
Who's making the noise?
Jeff.
It's Jeff for sure.
I'm not moving.
It's AJ. Yeah. It's AJ. Anyhow, moving back. He's like, don't embarrass me. Moving. Okay. So deer can't see you. Mm-hmm. Here's my rebuttal on that one. I'm hunting at Pete's property for turkey, right? Mm-hmm. I'm in a rhino blind. For whatever reason, blinds, I'll never quite understand this, just make you invisible to deer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It just happens. You can be sitting in that blind, and it's from me to AJ away, and that sucker doesn't see you.
Yeah.
Now,
It also kind of doesn't hear you. Unless you're making like loud noise. Like, if you're just standing outside and you whisper, deer's like,
yeah.
But you're in a blind, and you at least have some kind of a...
Something happens, like you get registered as a stationary item, and if you keep it dark inside, they can't see you as well. Like, you don't... When I was turkey hunting, I had a deer from me to AJ away, and I'm moving around to get set up for the turkey, and I'm trying not to spook this deer who's eating right next to me. Just grass, because he's got the mowed lawn right there. It's like almost a city setting. And I'm like worried about spooking the turkeys because I'm going to spook this deer who's next to my open window. And that mug just looked right at me and didn't do a thing. So to me, deer can't see you. This is just for deer. If you're in an open stalk, yeah, that's a good one, because think about antelope hunting, where you have to make a 200 to 400 yard shot. You have to get in close, but it's big open setting, and you got to sneak in and hope that he doesn't see you, and he's never going to wind you where you're at, and he's never going to smell you, wind, same thing,
or hear you
because of how far away you are. But like, he could easily see you trying to sneak across the desert, trying to get up on him. So there's a benefit to that. But if it's just deer, I picture deer hunting in Midwest. I don't like they can't see you, because I feel like the blind really makes a huge difference on that.
Yeah, when you put it that way.
AJ's like, well, forget me. Knocks his whole mic over. Jeff,
to me, the top 3, there's already something for that. There's a blind for can't see you. For smell you, they have all those sprays and the ozone things and whatever the case. For can't hear you, just be an adult and don't make noise.
Yeah, I was gonna go with green. So what do you got, Jeff?
I think you definitely go with red, orange, whatever that is.
It says red.
It says red.
I'm just kidding. I turned on him after I was the one that mixed it up first.
That's great.
I mean,
I think red.
But
okay.
It doesn't take the fun out of the game, but you still get what you got.
Right.
You never feel bad about losing a deer.
Coming into this conversation, I was real positive I was going to drink green, because with camera stuff, hearing seems to be the biggest issue that I would think that we would come across, and then AJ could listen to his music, and it wouldn't be a big deal. But you could just shut up, and then you don't need the potion. Mm-hmm. So it's a waste of a potion. And now I'm thinking that way.
I'm surprised that you thought of that.
Deer can't see you. That's pretty cool from a filming perspective. Yeah. But I knocked a hole in it with the whole blind thing. Deer can't smell you. Winding is tough. Like when you watch anything with like an elk hunt or a moose hunt, and you're calling to them, and they go around, they try and go around you to wind you to see before they come in to see like what the situation is, because they may be not sure about the call. Or a lot of animals go through winding you, or how many animals have we spooked because they winded us versus, where we thought we could get in close, they smelled us, so they took off. And I mean, there's cover sense and there's all those things, but I don't know how well they work, and you still get winded. And if you're out on, let's say we're elk hunting and it's day 4 and we've been sleeping in tents and stuff like that, how much they're going to cover Jeff's stank? You imagine him sweating out there? Good God. So
I like that all the sprays and all the different things are like, they have one guy that's like, well, I sprayed myself with it, and I went out and was in a tree blind, and deer came within 5 feet, was directly underneath me, and didn't even smell me. Like, well, was there wind?
Right. What are the variables?
Was there?
So every deer you shoot, you recover is real attractive because it doesn't take any sport out of the hunt, but it also helps you be more ethical, which is cool. And then the purple one, never miss a deer. That one's out from the beginning.
That one sucks.
So you guys
Idiot.
are all red. I think at the end of all the variables, I'd pick black. Because it does take a little bit of the challenge out of the hunt, but it's something that I can't seem to control as well as I'd like to, even with product. And it's unfair for us. We have camera guys, so there's like 5 of us versus just one hunter. So, come on, this is what I gotta do. And then as far as the red one goes, maybe I'm happy, but I've never not recovered an animal yet. So maybe I'm just, that hasn't become an issue for me just yet. And I've shot a lot of stuff. So I shouldn't say that ducks and stuff like that for sure, but
not deer.
But not deer. So I'm gonna go with black. Black. You guys are all reds.
I'm going to say this would have been a great opportunity for all the scent elimination companies out there if we were like, speaking of black potion, you should try our black potion.
I like it.
Nice.
When we come back, there's an alligator, Texas, lost his tail, and some people real upset about it. Stay tuned. You're a hunter, and because you hunt, you're the world's greatest conservationist. You're a huntervationist. You do more for wildlife and conservation than anyone. The Sportsman Alliance protects hunters from the animal rights movement. When the Sportsman Alliance gets involved in court cases or legislation, hunters win. Conservation wins. Become a huntervationist today and join the Sportsman Alliance like we did to help protect your rights against the animal rights movement.
Hot Shot Outfitters in Port Hope, Michigan is the destination for whitetail deer, crow, waterfowl, rabbit, predator, and turkey hunts. We have cabins, over 30,000 non-fenced acres, and a passion for delivering fair chase hunts to you and your family. Reserve your hunt at hotshotoutfitters.com today.
When your hands are busy, your mind gets right. When your hands are busy, you can't point fingers and complain that life isn't fair. When your hands are busy, you're serving your family, your friends, and your community. When your hands are busy, you show everyone what you're capable of. The all-new Ram 1500, Motor Trend's 2019 Truck of the Year.
Hello and welcome back to the Greenway Outdoors podcast. I love our off-air conversations. I could never, ever, ever.
Someday something's going to go wrong, and the audience is also going to love them.
Jeffrey, alligator tail. Tell us about it, since it's your dumb story.
So there is in Lake Worth, which is 43 miles west of Dallas, they found a dead alligator.
Okay.
That's close to where we were.
Yeah, that the tail was removed.
Okay.
So they thought, their first thought is poaching. Some of the people were like, benefit of the doubt, maybe a boat, the propeller cut the tail off and then it died.
Plenty of things that could happen.
I don't
Ask the
think
manatees.
That's it? Is that it?
Yeah.
So they found this alligator, and they think somebody just caught it, cut the tail off, killed it, cut the tail off, and then just left it.
Why did they think they killed it?
They think they took it either for meat, which is
Why
apparently,
do they think they killed it?
Apparently sad. That caused the biggest uproar on Facebook and other places with comments, because they're like, why would you just take the tail? The tail's like not the worst meat, but not by any means the best meat. So they think they took it either for meat or just for the skin, which makes at least
Also no sense.
a little more sense to me, because
Not a ton, though.
there's a good
Not a
amount.
ton. No, I agree.
There's a good amount of skin on the tail. Why you wouldn't just take the whole thing, though? In either case.
Because they want the undercarriage on them, right? Isn't that the value? Isn't the valuable
undercarriage?
Yeah, isn't
The
that the
belly.
valuable part? The belly.
I think so.
I thought so.
Yeah, for some things. Depends on what you're making. But for most leather stuff, yeah, it's the underside. But so they took the tail, and just left it. So they're leaving. They have a $1,000 reward for any information that leads to.
Tail bandit.
Yeah.
How do they think it
the
died?
Alligator
How do
butcher.
they think it died?
Is that a joke?
They cut
No.
the tail off.
Oh, how did they?
How did it get killed? They cut the.
I think they probably killed it before they cut the tail off.
They
I think so
didn't-
too, considering there's not blood pouring
There
out the
wasn't a
tail
whole
area,
lot of
and it's all
details
white meat. It looks like
on the actual kill because it was.
there had to be something because they've determined that it was killed.
Yeah.
And this was your story. I'm just kidding.
Well, it was only on one local thing in Texas, so they didn't say.
But they put $1,000 reward on any information for
Yeah.
it,
Hey.
which is
I mean, is that poaching technically?
It was
Yeah.
for sure poaching because
yeah.
season is only from, I think it's April 1st to June 30th.
yeah, it's poaching.
So it died August 1st or thereabouts.
Yep.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. Pretty
Odd.
Pretty
Could be
disappointing.
like a
Well, could it be another
offering thing.
They must
Like some voodoo.
They
honestly.
must know more than they gave
You
because
never know.
Yeah.
it looks like a clean cut, so it doesn't look like another alligator ate the tail.
Yeah.
It looks like the meat is white, which means he was probably dead before because he's not bleeding or there's not blood on the meat.
It could have been sitting there. For
Could have
a
been
few
sitting
days.
there exactly. And then, if they know it was killed, though, there's some wound that would indicate that. I would think.
Yeah. You'd assume.
You didn't just come up with that.
Yeah.
That's my thoughts on it.
Yeah.
It was a weird story because there wasn't.
I hope they kill him. Whoever it was. I'm just kidding.
DOA.
I hope they get him.
There wasn't a whole lot of detail. The majority of the story was actually just in the comments where people were like, why would you take that and then take just the tail? And there's people arguing for the leather. There's people arguing for the food. They're like, you could take the legs and barbecue them. You could take the
you got recipes
the
getting
backs
posted.
and the meat. You can make
Did you
gumbo
put our
with them.
alligator recipe up there? It's like pretty insensitive.
But yeah, it
Um,
was.
But I'm surprised a game agency though had $1,000 to throw around at something like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that it didn't really show up anywhere other than local
every
news.
time there's like rewards for information leading to things like this, though, you'd have to be one tacky person to walk in and be like, "So, show me the money first, or give me the check and I'll tell you," or like, you know what I mean? Like it's like
You never hear about anyone.
yeah, it's
you
like
never hear about anyone that
if you
actually
know
gets the
something
rewards.
terrible like this, wouldn't you just tell the truth? Or like when you see like a missing persons report and they put a reward on like a kid's head if you can find the kid and then turn like help to lead towards recovering it. no, to recover like the child or whatever that's missing.
Okay,
It's like
okay.
who wants a reward for helping recover a kid? Help the kid.
I think that might be directed more towards whatever criminals had something to do with it. Oh, there's incentive for me to I might be able to get my way out of this, but I also get money.
Yeah, they're gonna need that
Oh,
money
I
for
see.
all these stitches that they get.
Because
On
snitches
account of
get
they
stitches. Snitches get stitches.
Nice.
Speaking of waterways and animals that are possibly being consumed,
I love it.
I've got a great transition.
Ugh.
Okay, I wanted to talk about PCBs and heavy metals in fish.
What is PCBs?
I don't know that it's
Perfluoro.
yeah, that's not a. It's
chlorocarbonated
PCBs, which is short.
beverage.
It's only made up of
B does not stand for
made up of like two carbon something and something else. That's what it's made of.
Perfluoro.
And anyhow, PCBs is short for blah, blah, blah. And essentially I was like, wait, why do all these fish have heavy metals and PCBs in them? Why is that where did that come from? So from 1929 to 1979, there was a big, obviously, the Industrial Revolution and everything like that happened. We did not keep real good track of how we disposed of PCBs. What?
When was the Industrial Revolution?
That was
No. Why they talked about the actual... Why would you just laugh and not help me then? That's not being friends.
I was just gonna let you keep going, but it was funny enough.
No, from the industry stuff, from 1929 to 1979 was when the big stuff was going on that led to a lot of the pollution with PCBs. So I shouldn't have said Industrial Revolution, jerk.
I was gonna like
during the tail end and shortly
You just
after.
laughed at me.
During the tail end and shortly after
just
the
being a
Industrial
bully.
Revolution.
Yeah, this is the second time today where I misspoke on something, and he's like,
Boom!
waiting.
How many times have you done that?
Why don't you
to
take
me?
it from here, Ryan? Nope, you tell us the rest about PCBs and
All
mercury.
right.
Let's hear all about it.
It's not PCB. It's PBC. It stands for peanut butter cup.
Okay, he's done.
We got a problem with all these peanut butter cups in the water.
Okay,
Touche.
good friends.
The fish are getting Reese's syndrome.
So, anyways, PCBs and mercury. Why are these heavy metals in our fish? Why is this stuff going on in our
wanna know
fish?
why?
So from what, Jeff? Jesus, can I get through this damn thing?
I was in it.
No, okay, go ahead.
No, I want to know why.
He's gonna explode.
Okay.
No, hell no. I've got this. I did way too much research and came up with this from 1929 to 1979. There was a lot of pollution going in, and they weren't keeping track of where it was being dumped, how it was being dumped, how it was being discarded. Got in the waterways, got in the water systems. It's continually to evaporate, rain. The interesting thing, too, is it also sinks to the bottom, stays in the soil. And with the PCBs that are out there, it'll take decades for us to get rid of it. And it's still used in some instances. So it's used in the transformers for electricity. Helps make them stable. It also helps. They put it in real high, bright colored paints still. Okay. So it's found there. There's a couple other instances where it's
So
still
from
found.
those years, they were able to, I guess, contaminate the entire
it's not-
fish population.
Yeah, they contaminate the waterways.
The waterways.
Mostly the oceans, but everything.
So they all have them now. That's crazy.
It's around now.
Do you think
Wow.
it's fair to say that most of the current PCB pollution comes from EDM rave parties?
How many three-letter
bright
acronyms
paint.
are we going to do?
Paint. There's paint everywhere at those things.
And it's all bright.
It is very bright.
Neon even. So anyhow, it's used in these transformers still. It's used in bright colored paints, a few other applications still as well. Mm-hmm. And it can still leak in, still have issues. Mercury is a little different. It was used in a lot of applications and did a lot of dumping. The heavy metals tend to reside on the bottom of the waterways because they're heavier than water. So they go to the bottom, and that's why a lot of the bottom feeders, as they would put it,
Interesting.
acquire more of them. Now what happens is the small fish acquire it in small amounts. The bigger the fish, they eat the other fish, and that contamination continually, like, if a fish eats a fish, he gets all the PCBs in mercury and stuff that he had. And then if another fish eats that fish, he gets both fish's fish, their stuff, and then it continues to grow, which is why the bigger fish are a lot more of a problem. The bigger fish that eat a lot of fish are the ones that have the most dense.
More predatory.
So when they say like you can't have so much of this fish because it has high levels of mercury, is it because it's been contaminated in the waterways for this many years? Like 200 years ago,
The
this
older
wasn't a
the
problem?
fish, it's really because he ate all the other fish that had it. So he's just
200 years ago, this wasn't a problem.
That's what I said to Jeffrey. I said, what was the issue before? Now there's some science that says that the mercury, I believe, it could be coming from like vents, like down in the bottom of the ocean.
Oh.
So it's not all 100% coming from just industrial stuff.
You get some from erosion. You get some from big shots from volcanic.
Because mercury is here on the Earth, anyways.
It's a natural.
That's true.
Mercury is a naturally
Yep.
occurring thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
It's a little bit like the python. Like they're at the top of the food chain
They're
in
eating
Florida.
everything.
Okay.
So they just everything ends at them. All the mercury ends at them, and that's why you can't eat them.
yeah, the pythons were literally like
Poisonous.
poisonous. They had so much mercury levels in them. The ones that we caught, those 10-footers, because they've eaten so many fish, so many other things that ate fish,
Yep.
and everything just keeps
That's
acquiring
crazy.
and accumulating.
The thing that sucks with these is like with other pollutants, especially with the big organic push, a lot of stuff is biodegradable now. Mm-hmm. So it'll like break down and then it's no big deal. Heavy metals don't.
No, they don't.
You can't get rid of them. You have to just wait for them to dissipate. So if they end up down in the bottom in the mud, they don't go anywhere. You got to wait for that mud to erode, and then for the water to get slightly more, I think, acidic, and then that helps to disperse it a little bit, and then it'll go downriver, ends up in the ocean. Mm-hmm. So
That's crazy.
Yeah, a lot of it ends up in the ocean.
Yeah.
But and that's why they say like the big predatory fish, king mackerel, even like tuna and stuff like that, the bigger, obviously the giant ones, and then sharks, a lot of giant fish you're not supposed to eat, especially when you're pregnant, because it'll be passed to the offspring.
That's crazy.
And they're more sensitive to it. And the problem is mercury levels and stuff like that can really mess up your nervous system. And for a developing fetus, it can really mess them up.
Yeah, that's gotta go.
Makes
Perfect.
sense that Mrs. Green loved fish.
It's crazy. when our parents were
Touche.
kids.
During the Industrial Revolution, at least.
Wow.
Well, okay.
Really dating your
I
mom
wasn't
there.
sure if you said what years you said, so that's why I didn't say anything, because I didn't want to be wrong. And then I would get roasted.
Yeah.
So
You're not gonna
in
get
my head I
roasted
was
about
laughing, and
dates
then it
from
came out a
Kyle.
little bit, and then you got mad. But then I ended up
I
being
didn't get
right.
mad. It's just it's
got mad.
It's a brutal group of friends we have here.
I didn't yell.
But from 1929 to 1979 was when they're saying that was the biggest input of the PCBs and mercury, at least in the research that I did. So that's why it's in the water. So you go to a random pond that's nowhere near a manufacturing place, and they're like, oh, those fish PCBs. It's like, well, how? Why? Why? Why?
What? Nature.
That's why.
One of the big causes of heavy metal in water is from 1929 to 1979. They were doing a lot of mining, and they used, this is something I learned while looking at it, is they use acid mine drainage. So they take the stuff that they mine and put it in acid, and all these heavy metals, because they're soluble in acid, they come out, and then they get the ore they're looking for gold, copper, whatever. And then they take this acid leftover stuff, and they would either store it somewhere, or earlier on they just kind of like whatever.
Yeah.
And it would end up in the groundwater, and then the groundwater goes to the river, which goes to the ocean. So it's all.
It'd be
in there.
interesting to know, like, everything drains on this side of the United States drains to the Mississippi. It'd be interesting to know at the Delta in Louisiana, at the Gulf of Mexico, what the levels are right there, like where everything drains out into the, because everything empties out right there.
Don't touch the mud there.
Yeah.
You know, it's a total bummer.
That must have been why when we were there, the water was glowing green like that.
Oh, stop it.
I was like, wait a minute.
No, that was everyone dumping their neon sticks after the rave we went to. No, the other thing, like, and I don't know the answer to this, but if we change our practices from a manufacturing standpoint and we go more green and we do all these different things that are these heavy metals and pollutants and PCBs and stuff would go less, and work on how we store it, how we get rid of it and stuff like that, then once we get to that point, then how many decades will it take before, like, PCBs aren't a thing anymore?
Mm-hmm.
It's not something to worry about.
It
makes you think about
imagine a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, they said
'cause it
decades
never-
is what they said.
It never really goes away. It just ends up somewhere else.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
We've just concentrated.
Can we
it
just
and
shoot
put
that
it-
stuff out into space and start polluting that too? Next.
That's how we end up meeting aliens. Is they one day come and
They're like, okay.
we don't want your garbage. You can take this back.
What are you guys even doing with it? Like, did you really need that metal? Then you used it to make cars that then also pollute? What are you dumb?
Turns out to them it's food, and they're like, we really appreciate you guys sending us all these care baskets over the years.
We love our acidic ore.
Decomposing computer. Have a bite.
No, it's but will this stop me from eating fish? No. You know what I mean? Because even so, the health benefits, if you're eating the right fish, far, far, far outweigh the risk. And you just eat it in moderation. Some tips I would have would be check the information as far as fish advisories out of lakes and stuff that you're eating out of.
local lakes.
And stuff like that.
For example, Lake Michigan, the whitefish there are, for some reason, very sensitive to dioxins, which is another form of hard to break down substance that we create. And,
Yeah, well, I would assume that based on what I've learned, the whitefish are at the very bottom as well. They hang out at the bottom, so that's where a lot of that settles. A lot of that settles.
You're only allowed to eat 2 a year.
Wow.
Oh,
That's the recommendation.
I got 3.
People that live nearby, I'm sure, eat more than that. That ends up in fish and chips.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff.
Whitefish is good.
when
It is. If that's what dioxin tastes like, then I love dioxin.
Give me some of that.
PCBs, I'm not.
when did what lake was it that lit on fire? Was it like
Lake Erie is one.
it was Erie?
Yeah.
Okay, so when was that? Like
that was
what?
like 70?
Industrial Revolution.
No, don't you
I think
dare.
it was earlier than that.
I think it was in the 70s is when they did the big
Burn off.
Was it polluted? Is that how
Oh,
it
it's
caught on
so
fire?
It was so
polluted that-
it lit on the lake was so polluted it lit on fire.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
But then they did
Neither
the whole
did I.
Restoration Act between the Detroit River and all that stuff, and now you can eat
It's very
walleye
clean.
out of the fish again. Yeah,
That's why people have such a,
you can eat.
it's taboo. You're not supposed to do it because it's gross.
So some tips that we have. Number one is to follow the 3 C's, is what they call them. If you look it up on the Department of Natural Resources website and stuff, the 3 C's are, number one, catch fish that don't represent the highest size of the overall fish. So for instance, like walleye, don't keep anything over 22 inches. I like how my first walleye was 28 and a half, and I kept it and ate it. So I was like,
Rebel.
We fished all day. I'm eating this fish. He's getting 8. I'll give up walleye for the rest of the year, but I'm eating this.
Yep.
But you're not supposed to keep them over, like, let's say a keeper size walleye is 15 or 16 inches, something like that. It depends on the waterway. Don't keep anything over like 21, 22, and just keep them in that slot. Keep them at that. Don't eat the highest size of them, because then they have more concentration because they've been alive longer and eaten more fish and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. So catch the smaller fish of the species that you're targeting. That's number one. Clean them is number 2, which means you clean away all the fat. So a lot of the metals and fats and stuff will condense down in the fat area. In the fats of the fish, that's where they store a lot of it. So if you cut a lot of that away, you're cutting away a lot of the heavy metals and stuff like that too. And I like catfish and things like that, you'll see like the reds and the fats and stuff on the fish. Cut all of that away. Number 3 is cook it in a way that allows the fat to render off of the meat, meaning getting away from the meat. So
Get a
So
griddle.
like bacon, kind of like how you do it on like a George Foreman. It just all drains out.
yeah. So
With a little tray.
yeah, so grilling it. So those are the 3 C's that can help you not eat fish that are so polluted. That's kind of what I do. But again, I just, to quote Steve Rinella, because we have before, and I know that they like a lot of our topics too. But what I've noticed is he said too. He goes, I don't let it bother me, because I don't think there's any way that when I die they're gonna be like, oh, he was eating. He ate a lot. He had too many PCB and mercury fish. He had too many of. He can't spell out a scenario where that's what kills him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
True.
Acute PCB poisoning.
Guideline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cute.
Another thing, there's people who don't like catfish, and I've heard that it's because of that red meat that you don't
get
cut
rid of
out.
100%.
Yeah, if you cut that out, it will taste much, much better. That's what makes it taste gross to anyone out there who doesn't like it.
Which is weird because all other meats, or at least most of them, the fat's a good part.
Well, it's a
The
fish.
flavor. So it's a little counterintuitive, I guess. to
Is it
me.
really a fat, or is it like a different type of meat?
No, it's a fat.
It's a fat.
Okay.
Yeah, it's technically a fat.
Because, I mean, it's not like steak fat.
Yeah,
it's
but
like...
catfish fat doesn't have the same flavor that salmon fat has.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just like a deer fat doesn't have the same taste that a buffalo fat has, or
Okay.
Wagyu.
yeah. So beef, yeah. So or pork, they all have different flavor fats. So when you look at a catfish, for instance, like you're saying, that red meat, we also did striper fishing in Texas, where they had now striper aren't notoriously like really super great fish, but the guy we were with was like, no, it's really, really, really good. And we're like, okay, well, whatever, we'll have dinner.
Yeah.
And he was going to deep fry it, so how bad could it be?
Oh, yeah,
But
that's right.
he did something called zippering. And I do this on my walleye. I do this on a lot of fish. I do it on crappie now because I know how to do it.
Yeah.
Essentially, when you go around the rib cage of a fish, like the back meat is like the thickest strip that you're going to get, and then you kind of follow the ribs along, and then once you get past the ribs and the tail area, you go all the way down to the spine, cut out, and then you've got your fillet. You like undressed each side of him, and now he's just got his rib cages. And up through the middle, you'll see a line of like little tiny bones that in like crappie and bluegill and stuff will easily cook out, even in walleye really. But a lot of times you'll have, that's where the darker meat will be. Not on panfish, but on striper, catfish, different fish, pike even, walleye for sure. So what I'll do is I'll cut on each side of that little line that goes up the middle, and you pull it down and it literally just unzips, and then you grab the other side, unzips, and then you've got this strip of red nastiness and bones up the middle.
And PCBs, apparently.
Discard that. Your
Interesting.
fillets are a little smaller, but you're getting rid of like a lot of the risk stuff.
I remember that.
I remember when I unzipped them, and then I gotta say that striper, you loved it.
Brilliant.
Yeah. What were you gonna say? You were gonna say something. No,
I was agreeing with you.
Oh yeah, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
So that would be my recommendation for how to dodge that.
It's you said that striper isn't super known for being very good, and it was good. It's through my experience working here for the Greenway Outdoors that no matter what you think of the animal, how gross it is, it all comes down to preparation. Like we had crow. I thought that was awesome. I loved
those
it.
crow kebabs.
Yeah, like crow was pretty good. You know that back on the 100% with you. Back on like paddlefish. So I was thinking like, oh, they're filter feeders. Their levels will be real low. We got two different pieces of information that were conflicting from two different scientists that are supposed to know the truth. So in the river we were in Oklahoma, we were in Wyandotte, Oklahoma. They said that there was a lot of dumping or issues or something like that. The one guy said there was dumping issues, that paddlefish hypothetically should be low on the PCBs, even though they're massive, they're bigger than Ryan. But they're filter feeders, so they're not eating a lot of fish, so they're not acquiring it as much. But they also live for 60 years or whatever. Like the one I got was like some crazy number of age.
Except for that cute little one you caught.
He was cute. He was so cute.
Adorable.
Which is funny because he was massive compared to most fish. But he was like, he's cute. He's like this big, but for that fish that was tiny. Yeah. But anyhow, but then somebody else said, well, they should hypothetically be less. But there was a bunch of dumping that happened in this river a long time ago. And they're not because of that. So we never really knew when we ate it. So
we're still here.
It is what it is.
Still walking.
Yeah, and that's kind of been my thing. Is I'm always going to still eat it regardless. That was a little laker. I thought that was a cool little video of a lake trout that we caught. And then those are like the bait fish. I'm not going to narrate the whole thing. Like a nature documentary. If you look at the bait fish. Native to this stream. And then congratulations to the Michigan Department of Natural Resources who just picked up 1.5 miles of river. Was that what it was? Of the Asabo. They picked up a bunch of private property they bought out of the fund, and now we have more access for anglers.
But unfortunately, it's not fishable, so no one should go there.
Yeah, don't go there and fish it. There's no fish there. That was the one thing they were saying. Do not go and fish. There's definitely not all these brook trout there that you're looking at there. Don't go there. At least this weekend. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, we were texting Scott about it. I said, how long before we go fish there? I'm like, yeah, I'm sure. Scott goes, I'm sure no one else has that idea as well. But hopefully this shed some light on heavy metals, PCBs, gave you an idea of what you can do to help counter it. But don't be a wimp. Still eat the fish.
Correct.
Because there's plenty of other issues and stuff with our food that you shouldn't let that stop you. Eating fish is still a great, healthy thing to do.
Yeah.
Just if you're pregnant, do a little research on which ones you should be eating. If you're going out and catching fish, keep the smaller ones. Don't always keep the big ones. Yeah. And then, follow the 3 C's and do the zipper thing because that really works. And it makes them taste better.
You don't see any point in dwelling on things like, like when you're going to die. Speaking of knowing when you're going to die.
Where's this going?
If people knew when an animal would die, would it take the sting out of hunting for it?
Way to take my philosophy. So the idea behind this, that was a good transition, though. I'll give you that one, because we were ready to move on anyhow. We had beaten that thing to death. I got heavy metal mercury. I talked about it so much.
I'm sitting here waiting for someone to say anything about dying.
I know. It'd be real funny.
That would have been
real
good.
funny if you navigated your entire life not eating PCBs or mercury just to wind up in a car accident at 32. Like, oh man, I could have ate all that fish. But back to dying. Okay.
That's awesome.
This is my quick thing. Do you think that if people knew how long animals lived or when a specific animal would live, it would take the sting out of you harvesting that animal? For instance, I shoot a deer. I think that people have this weird indication that that deer was going to live eternally and that I killed it because they're like, well, you killed that animal.
You stopped its life.
It's like, well, I killed a 5-year-old buck who probably wasn't going to make it through the winter or at least next year. He might live another year and then die a slow death because his options are to die of a predator, of disease, or starving to death. Those are his options.
Or a car.
Or a
car.
Good
Those
call.
are his 4 options, and my Arrow is a much nicer option than those 4 options. But in Michigan, especially, he has those 4 options, and they're all, one of them's coming for him within the next year. Are you
Easily.
still upset that I shot him, he died a quick death, and I got to eat him? Does that take the sting out of it? I think it does.
I philosophically, I agree.
I think if people knew how and not so much when, I think that would be the big one. If they knew,
That's a good point.
this deer's gonna get torn apart by coyotes.
They're like,
they're
okay,
gonna be
I want Kyle to eat him.
Give him the 10-second death instead of the 15-minute eat him alive. death.
100% one of those 4 things are going to happen to him.
I would
Or a
agree.
hunter gets him.
I would agree.
But for sure, one of those 4 things.
Yeah.
And it's coming at any given point on any wild deer, probably inside 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, if I shot a deer and they knew that deer technically, if Kyle didn't shoot him, had 136 days left to live, and then he just would have gone to nature and decomposed, and that would be that.
Gone to the farm?
Or yeah. Or we could have harvested him and ate him. Would it take the sting out? Or like a turkey. You know, you see a 3-year-old turkey, that's an old bird. So if I shoot a 3-year-old turkey that was going to die next year, then
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like what? Like okay, he was only going to live another year. I think it would actually take the sting out, and I think we might want to focus on, like, as a counterpoint, like,
Yeah.
like, hey, that's the reality.
That's true.
It puts things into better perspective.
Yeah, but no one does that. Like anytime you hear a hunter versus anti argument, that's like never used, and I'm gonna start using it. I'm gonna start saying,
that's a good one.
well, technically, this deer had at the very most a year left to live, or a year and a half if he was stubborn, and these would be the 4 ways he would die. Which one do you think is more beneficial? The one where he feeds my family and I don't actually give towards factory farming, or do you think I should give to factory farming, let him go on his way, and then die that gruesome death?
Starve
Which one do
somehow.
you choose? Because the world's a nasty, mean place, and it's coming for you one way or the other.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of them argue just to argue, though, and I feel like if you're like, oh, well, he would have died in a year because of coyotes, and they would have ripped him apart, and it would have been very painful and terrible for him. They'd be like, well, what about the coyotes now? What are they going to eat now? You took that away from them.
It's
touche.
well, that's just now you're arguing. Death is death.
Now that guy won't get insurance money after he hits the deer with his car. What about him?
Yeah.
Well, if you use the coyote,
Who do you care about?
Sure, it's
All
money.
life is precious. Tell the wolf that.
There you go.
Tell the wolf that. What's he supposed to eat? Lettuce? Can't feed him cranberries. So, I mean, it's just the reality is like everything has to eat to survive,
The world is grim. Sorry.
and that would be the way it would die. So I think my way's a lot nicer.
I agree.
So
Completely.
hopefully you agree too, or don't listen to our podcast anymore.
Yeah,
And with-
leave.
Peace.
And with that, I conclude the Green Outdoors podcast. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, our YouTube pages. Our weekly podcast is actually live at 6 p.m. on Eastern Standard Time on NRM Streamcast. You can check it out. They've got a mobile app, a website. They're on Roku, Amazon Fire Stick. They're basically on everywhere. Go search for it. We're also on iTunes, Google Play, but you can't see our pretty faces. So if you missed it live, go to our YouTube page. You can watch the video version there, or obviously you can download it on however you listen to your podcast. What were you going to say, Brian?
And check out that lemonade stand. Unless you're listening to this weeks down the line, then don't check it out and stay away.
Pretty much you had to listen to it
At
live.
that point, just go and Google
Drink lemonade.
Granger Smith
Go knock on the door.
and donate to his
Be
whatever
weird.
his GoFundMe or whatever the thing is that they're doing.
Thanks so much for tuning in. Stay green. Woohoo! Okay, yeah.